he had come to me and he had a bullet wound. And it had just gone along and out here in 2 little wounds, and we'd put a bit of a Band-Aid on both and gave him a cup of coffee, and God healed him. And he showed this, he undid his shirt, and there were the 2 bullet wounds. And he said, she's good, don't tell. And he took me by the hand, took me out, put me with the other missionaries. And it was amazing because, I suppose I left out the bit in the middle. The leader of the rebels had said to me, you're going to be my wife. And if you agree to be my wife, I promise you the other women will not be touched. And in a sense, he was giving me the ability to preserve them from rape and wickedness and cruelty. It's a choice you can't make. You can't say yes or no to either side. I would ever going to become his wife. But
tell us about standing in front of 800 men who'd already been primed to call out, she's a liar.
They took me away, and I'd been very badly beaten up, and my glasses were broken, and I couldn't see without them, and my face had been all beaten up, and I was in a bad state. And they drove me away, and I could just about see light coming in. I couldn't see anything else. And it was just as daylight was breaking, we came into a clearing of a forest village. They beat the talking drums, and these men came out from all around. Nobody dared not to in those days. The rebel soldiers were the only people with guns. And you did as you were told. And there were about 800 of them filling this courtyard. And I was to be tried by the, lieutenant of the group. And he asked me something that had happened the week before by this other rebel soldier who had raped me. And I wasn't going to speak up in loud in front of all these men, so I sort of dropped my voice. So he slugged me with a gun across my face, and I couldn't stand the pain, so I spoke up. And we had this mock trial, and they'd all been told that at a certain given sign, they would say, she's a liar, she's a liar. And what do we do with her? And they had a word, we never did understand what it really meant, mateko, mateko. But it meant crucify her. Really? And you knew you would die, you didn't know how. And there came the moment in the trial scene when they must have been given the sign, and suddenly, these 800 men, instead of seeing me as the hated white foreigner, they saw me as their doctor, and they rushed forward, they pushed the rebel soldiers out of the way, and they took me in their arms, and in that wonderful moment, the black-white barrier had gone, and they said, she's ours. They used a word in Kibutu, which really meant, she's blood of our blood and bone of our bone. The rift between dark skin and pale skin was driven away, and we were reunited as one. And God was so good. He used so many things that he was working out his own wonderful purposes. Many, many came to the Lord through those days of suffering. God
because you said yes to God.
Yes,
I use your body?
That's right. Yes.
The walls of division were broken down.
Yes.
And the kingdom was expanded. This is before you ever got to reach people who are struggling and stumbling and broken all over the globe. Another one of my favorite parts of this story. Your director, field director, regularly sent you books, and one of the books you were encouraged to read, you sent back, you did not want to read Fox's book of Martyrs. And what did you say to that field director?
Well, I sent the book back very politely. You didn't do anything else with our field director. I said, I can't read this. I said, if God ever asks me to be burned at the stake, I'll say yes, but I won't be singing. I just couldn't take it all. And then very shortly after that...
3 months later.
That's right, we were taken away and we were stood before a firing squad, and we were singing every song, chorus, hymn we could think of with the name of Jesus. We were singing in English, French, Swahili, anything. So the last word that these rebel soldiers would hear before they shot us was the name of Jesus.
Now, you weren't singing to impress your captors. Something else was very real in that moment when you thought you were about to die.
Yes.
And that was the presence of Jesus.
Jesus was there. He was so wonderfully there, and it was privileged. It was just this wonderful, certain knowledge I was going to go to be with Jesus. And really, at that minute, nothing else counted. And he is wonderful.
Just for the last minute, we have to set the record straight, because this is a story that has gone viral, and I have confirmed it is your chapter. The crate with the hot water bottle and the doll. Can you quickly recap that story?
Well, it's just, I've been called out in the middle of the night to the maternity part of our hospital, and a woman giving birth to her second child. But sadly, I thank God this rarely happened, but we lost the mother. The mother died, and we delivered this tiny premature baby. And I sent the midwives off to get the little cots we put these tiny babies into, and cotton wool to wrap them in, and oil. And another midwife went out to fill a hot water bottle to put beside the baby. And she came back into the room and said, "I'm awfully sorry, doctor." I took the hot water bottle, I boiled the kettle, and as I filled the bottle, burst hot water bottle. And she said, "It is our last." Well, I said, "Okay, you put the baby as near to the fire as you can. You've got to keep the baby warm. If the baby gets cold, it will die," etc., etc. And next day at midday, I went to have prayers with our orphanage children, as I did every day. And any of the children wanted gathered round me for prayer time, and I'd give them different things to pray about. And this particular day, I told the children of this tiny baby and asked them to pray for the nurses that they would stay awake all night to keep that baby warm. If the baby got cold, it would die. I mentioned that the baby had a 2-year-old sister who was crying because her mummy had died. I mentioned the burst hot water bottle. During prayer time, different children prayed for different things. And then one little 10-year-old girl, Ruth, she prayed in the usual blunt way of our African children. "Please, God, send us a hot water bottle. Now, God, it'll be no good tomorrow. Send it this afternoon. If it comes tomorrow, the baby will be dead." I'm sort of swallowing hard. I said, "While you're about it, God, would you send a dolly for the little 2-year-old sister so that she'll know that Jesus really loves her?" And that afternoon, the parcel came. It was the first parcel I'd been out there 4 years. I'd never had a parcel from home. And despite the fact that I live on the equator, somebody packing that parcel had been prompted by God to put in a hot water bottle. And a child from my Bible class at home had put in a dolly for a little girl. And it came that afternoon in answer to a 10-year-old child's prayer. And the amazing thing was, that parcel had been on the way 5 months to get to us. It had left England in July,
before you
reached
call,
us in December.
I will answer.
That's absolutely it.
Lord.
And it came that afternoon because a child prayed, and that's lovely. That's my version of the hot water bottle and the dolly story.
And it is Helen's story. You will run into it again, and you may want to know more of these stories of Helen's life on the field. The most traumatic story has been a game changer, a life changer, a theology changer for millions of people. I'm going to show you the book that is now, it's actually WEC, Your Mission, has put it together, which is wonderful. Give Me This Mountain.
Yes.
And of course, the second part of that story is He Gave
Us a valley.
A valley. And then all the teaching books, Living Sacrifice, Living Faith, Living Holiness, Living Fellowship. I hope this is not your last trip to Canada. And before I let you go, Helen, would you just say the question into which camera? This one more time. The question that has shattered and reformed our thinking.
Can you thank me for trusting you with this experience, even if I never tell you why? And he doesn't have to tell us why, but he often does in his gracious, loving mercy.
God is working on a canvas way too big for us to see from this vantage point. Calls for trust, and I hope you've been encouraged today. Dr. Roseveare, God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.